Good morning, friends, respected colleagues on the dais, and dear friends. Let me at outset thank Assembly Secretariat of Jharkhand, because this building I visited when roof was being laid as Secretary Parliament Affairs. And today I am seeing the full-fledged building, so I feel very happy that you have got the best gift to your democratic institution, one-party institutional structure, and I think that is a good institutional structure that you have created. I would like to compliment it and congratulate it. मेरे को विषय दिया गया है कार्यपालिका और विधायिका के बीच के जो नाजुक संबंधों पर कुछ कहने के लिए। मैं जानता हूं कि दोनों इंस्टीट्यूशन को एक बात ध्यान में रखनी चाहिए, जिसको कहते हैं कि when people get used to preferential treatment, I am repeating it, when people get used to preferential treatment, equal treatment looks like discrimination. चाहे विधायिका के माननीय विधायकगण हो या सरकार के लाइनमैन से लेकर चेयरमैन तक के सरकारी कर्मचारीगण हो, हमारे अंदर एक निजी इच्छा होती है कि वी शुड बी ट्रीटेड डिफरेंटली, और इस चीज को नोटिफाई किया जाता है, कोडिफाई किया जाता है, बारंबार कहा जाता है कि हम डिफरेंट हैं। मेरा मानना है, व्यक्तिगत मानना है कि जब से देश आजाद हुआ है, वी द पीपल ऑफ इंडिया हैव गिवन ए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन टू आवरसेल्फ where equality is written in very, very bold terms. If we don't come out of this colonial mindset, we will continue to suffer from not being treated equally. और हमारी सारी समस्याओं का ये जो नाजुक संबंधों की जड़ में यही प्रेफरेंशियल ट्रीटमेंट ही है। अगर हम अपने को सामान्य नागरिक या सामान्य जनता समझना शुरू करेंगे, हमको जितना ट्रीटमेंट मिलता है उसके लिए हम शुक्रगुजार होंगे। And friend, this is valid even for IAS officers or down below, and this is also valid even for Honorable Chief Minister to Honorable Member of the Assembly. I am one of those who believe that if we look into the Panchpran of Honorable Prime Minister, अगर हमें विकसित भारत देखना है तो हमें गुलामी की मानसिकता से संपूर्ण रूप से मुक्ति लानी है। उस मुक्ति का प्रथम द्वार होता है हम सब एक समान हैं। ट्रीटिंग इक्वल इज नॉट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, एंड जितने नियम कानून इस तरह से बने हुए हैं, चाहे वो विशेषाधिकार के कानून हो या विशेषाधिकार समिति के समक्ष उपलब्ध होने की बात हो, या किसी न किसी तरीके से जो मैन्युफैक्चर्ड टेंशन बिटवीन एग्जीक्यूटिव एंड जुडिशरी एंड लेजिस्लेटिव होता है, इसका समाधान हो सकता है। मैं खुद एक ब्यूरोक्रेट हूँ, मैं जानता हूँ कि जब से हमने ई गॉव करना शुरू किया है, ई गॉव की असफलता में टेक्नोलॉजी का रोल कम है, ईगो का रोल ज़्यादा है। ये जो दोनों संपर्क हैं ये भी इतने नाजुक हैं कि इसमें जहाँ जहाँ अहम की लड़ाई हुई है वहम ने प्रवेश किया है और एक संघर्ष की स्थिति उत्पन्न हुई है। मैंने अपने जीवन में कभी कोई डिस्प्यूट देखा ही नहीं। हो सकता मैं सावन का अंधा हूं, का सावन का महीना भी चल रहा, लेकिन ये सच है। कहते हैं ना, अगर आपको सच कहना है तो आपको पावर पॉइंट की जरूरत नहीं है। अगर आपको झूठ बोलना है तो आप पेंसिल से मत लिखिए, अच्छे कलम से लिखिए, ताकि आप उसको करेक्ट कर सकें व्हेन यू आर कॉन्ट्राडिक्टिंग योरसेल्फ। आई एम वन ऑफ दोज हु बिलीव दैट if all of us have read the Constitution of India, which makes very clear things, what is the role of assembly? Law making, vidhayika, vidhan banana. There is saying that you need a constitution because state has monopoly over violence, so it needs a constitution to control itself. We are a fairly union structure, we are not fairly federal. So we have done with separation of powers, not very judicious way. So scheduled list of powers is there, central list, union list and state list. And residual power has been given to the union. Friends, always remember that we have got a history of 5,000 years, and we have got more than 500 constituents when we became independent also. To manage this unique federation, you require a unique constitution also. And we should be blessing ourselves that we have got such a uniquely designed constitution that it had withstood the test of time for the last 76 years, and hopefully it will last us till 2047 and maybe much more beyond. Provided each sector of this, each constituent of this great democracy understands its limitation. We normally debate about the power of each institution. Power to make law, it is a sovereign function of any legislature. But now even that also getting dented. You must have seen that discussion on GST Council and all those things, where all the state government, including central government, has subordinated their law-making power to GST Council. Unless GST Council clears a particular proposal on taxation on indirect taxes, states cannot, central should not, and so far this arrangement has succeeded. In fact, if you take up any constitutional innovation that India has done in the last 75 years, one of them is GST Council, where all the finance ministers deal with taxation issues, which is the supreme function of any legislature. Legislature's main power is making law, and taxing on individual's income, either business or otherwise, is the sovereign function of any state legislature. But even that function we have surrendered partially to see that our federation, our union of state is managed efficiently, and we become a single market, we become one India, we become one nation, we become a nation. Similarly, I would also like to suggest what is the purpose of government. The global trend, rising income inequality, aging of population, climate change. Even in Indian situation, we have upgraded ourselves from minimum needs like roti, kapda or makan to basic needs, what we call it bijli, sadak, pani. Now we have gone to aspirational needs where आवास जिसमें हर घर नल हो, हर घर जल हो, गैस हो, ये हो, वो हो, plus broadband ho, and many other things ho. The purpose of legislation is also to further this interest of the citizen. We are in the age of people-centric governance, not administering law. In fact, Honorable Prime Minister always said that we should declare certain laws redundant. In fact, 2000 laws have already been put on hold, they've been eliminated. We are over-legislated country. After all, you make law to see that citizens' behavior is governed in a particular manner. Constitution of United States is less than 3 pages. Constitution of India is more than 400 pages. That does not make anyone less democracy or more democracy. It is the spirit that matters, how we run that institution. Coming back to the whole issue, if legislature has a function to make law, there is no contradiction between legislature and executive. The representative form of democracy means that government will be formed by these representatives. One of them will become chief minister. His colleagues, trusted colleague, will become minister. They will be answerable to assembly. In fact, executive cannot and should not and must not answer directly to the legislative assembly. They should answer to the assembly through their minister so that accountability can be fixed. This borderline crossing, what we call it outer ring road and inner ring road, this has created tension. If government of the day has faith in the chief minister and ministers have faith in the house, they should be held accountable, and it is the job of ministers to control their department and ministers and line from lineman to chairman. In an ideal situation, nobody should be asked to appear before any committee. Second thing I would like to highlight that this, again repeat that if you are used to preferential treatment, common treatment looks like a discrimination. Unless we improve the system which performs, which has all the facts and figures, and our selections are rule-based, not on role-based, not on whimsical guideline, not on mere bande ko contract milega, usko nahi milega, and all those so-called positive discrimination which is seen as power. There is no dispute. Legislative job is to make law as clear so that they are understood similarly. In fact, we have made our laws, and this is criticism against all the bodies of legislature, that our laws are understood only by the advocates. Many times even court misunderstand it. We keep on interpreting the law. 6,600 laws to govern the behavior of businessmen, 800 laws to where businessmen can be put to jail for doing business, have been not over-legislated. In fact, the whole of Europe is going towards a state rule as a code. They are saying that laws should be made, which should be not only advocate consumable or court consumable, but they should be machine consumable. Because we are entering into an era of AI and ML, where things can be predicted that this law is going to violate following 30 laws, and this is going to be deficient in remaining 40 laws. So law-making function of assemblies and parliament need a quite different level of upgrade. The executive, the way we are suggesting draft to the cabinet, and when it comes to the assembly, either it goes to the committee or it goes for public scrutiny, or even if we get ideas from the market or crowdsource, those good and bright ideas, most of the time we don't try to accommodate them while making rules, because we think that every law should serve single purpose. No law has ever served single purpose. You take up the the penal laws, every criminal behavior has been defined in different laws. IPC was sufficient to deal with any types of crime. But we have come out with more than 30, 40 laws where behavior can be converted into criminal act. The civil law is, I think, much more complex, and this is not the time to discuss uniform civil codes and universal application of civil codes. The time has come to look into the laws passed by assemblies. In fact, this is a historic occasion for a young assembly like Jharkhand, which is less than 25 years old. We should not make laws which are unimplementable by design, which are not fully funded, and the intent of the state is only to pass the law, no intent to implement it 100%. There are many laws where rules have not been framed. Even if rules have been framed, they have not been notified. Even if they have been notified, they have no clear role and responsibility who will do what. On criminal law front, we are slightly clear that this is the power of judicial first-class magistrate, whether available or non-available, and who will be the appellate authority. But many other developmental laws, things have been kept hazy. Friends, if we want to make rule and make our citizens ready for 21st century, our laws must be also made 21st century compliant. We can't run the government, we can't rule the fate of 140 crore people with 18th century law, 17th century mindset, and 19th century institutions. Second thing, I would like to highlight the role of language that lawmaking and executive and judiciary or executive makes. Have you ever seen cabinet briefing being done by your own cabinet colleagues, by the bureaucrats? I'm not blaming you, I'm also part of the same system, I've also done the same job. But when you brief the matter to the people, I don't know how many people are able to understand the language that we use. I'm not going to the content of it. Can't we make laws simpler and notifications and cabinet note is still simpler? In fact, recently I am privy to a discussion where Honorable Prime Minister called Law Secretary. He says, can't you come up with a simpler draft? Where law is simple sentence, it does not mean provided further and up, however and provided. In fact, we are more ruled by however and provided than by the main act, by the main section. This complication by design was designed when we suspected every move of implementer and we suspected every move of court. We suspected that everybody is as idiot as we think they should be, and therefore we need everything to be codified. We need a law to govern the crime, we need a law to govern the procedure, and there is no other third law needed. Keep on adding what is crime, keep on adding how the procedure can be made citizen-friendly, code-friendly, and digital-friendly. So language is a major issue. The language that we use by using Prasasanik Sabdavali dictionary, if you read it carefully, you will not make it out what you want to say. If we as bureaucrats are not able to make it out, assembly, all the honorable members may not be able to make it out in the current sense, how Janta will understand it? Whose behavior we are trying to control through these laws. So this is onerous task of executive also to simplify their language. Simplify laws of notifications and rules. There will be legal language. We understand that British jurisprudence is applicable in our system. We are not, due process of law is more important than process established by law. I am fully aware of it. But I do think there is enough scope for meeting simple laws. Britishers were not unwise when they say the railway instruction should be in stop train, pull chain. They never said that if you want to stop the train, think 3 stations before, look at east, look at west, look at who is sitting in front of you, who is sitting behind you, then take a decision, put up your hand, lift the left hand first, if it doesn't work, right hand first, then stop the train. By the time train will go. Can't we have that type of clarity even today? So Bhasagat Truti is a challenge for both the sides of ASL, and executive should take a look at it, how we can make laws and language of the laws simpler. It becomes easier to communicate, it becomes easier to discuss, and ambiguity could be removed by design. Because we are architecting based on suspicion. We are not architecting our laws based on trusting the citizens. When the government abolished the so-called certified copy or attested copies, everybody thought that there will be floodgate of mischiefs. Self-certification, I get more guarantee than somebody certified by a third-rate video who does not look at it, despite being gazetted officer. He only puts a thumb rule, and maybe only seal is more important than the signature. We were cheating ourselves for 60 years with one provision, where every citizen was harassed at least 50 times in his lifetime. If 100 crore people are harassed 50 times in their lifetime, what is the value of that law or provision? Limited point is that it is the role of executive to see that, and governments of the days are advised that we are people-centric government, we are not process-centric government. Operation successful, patient dead is not the criteria of government. Criteria of government to deliver governments. योगक्षेम भाम्यम, जनता के कल्याण में राजा का कल्याण है, जनता की खुशी में राजा की खुशी है. Any other criteria of that electability and not going to the court on this and that is not the ground of success. I don't know how many of you have seen Pursuit of Happiness, a movie is there. Some of you might have seen it. When you start searching for happiness, you lose it itself. When you make a law which cannot be understood by the common man, much less by the honorable MLAs, then how it will be implemented at all? I have seen a law, when I wanted to notify, we didn't have any content to notify it. One more thing I would like to suggest, that this is the age of technology, and on technology front, the assembly and the executive both should be on the same front. It is possible now that you can analyze all the questions which have been asked in the past using AI, large language models, and can suggest to the honorable MLAs when they are putting a question, so this question has been answered so many times, and this is the answer. If you still want to ask a question, kindly revise the question so that it can be put. And the same seat should be available to the bureaucrat in the secretariat so that they will not give repeated reply. Today's allegation is that in RTI you get more information than you give information to the start questions. And this allegation is true throughout. An RTI in 10 rupee, an MLA can get much better information than he gets information which he or she is entitled inside the house. Limited point is that if we want to make democracy work and become world class, we have to reset, reboot, reimagine the bureaucracy the way it works, and politicians the way they work and behave in their house itself. Right to be offended, ready to be offended is not the best way to say that you are different. I am one of those who believe that if we are representing common men, we should also be having some sympathy and behave like common men. It is not the job of legislature to control and manage bureaucracy. There is a government of the day that manages bureaucracy. And I am very clear in my mind that bureaucracy must not hobnob with the assembly. Assembly has its own role and they should be doing their job independent of it. Yes, they should get benefit out of their wisdom, but it is the primary role of executive legislature to make laws. Based on laws made by you, we make policies. Based on those policies, we made regulation and subordinate legislation. And you also approve the subordinate legislation also. This is a cycle which need not be broken. If it is broken, it will reduce the content and maybe extent of democracy itself. But yes, role of bureaucracy is also very, very critical because we should learn to disclose. We should learn to come out of the so-called Office Secrecy Act. Whenever you write a confidential on any letter, that letter copy is xeroxed by the peon itself. So what is the level of so-called confidentiality? And today's age, when the letter is being drafted, it is confidential. The moment it is issued, it loses to be confidential. So we should be extra transparent. I am always believing that sunlight is the best means of protecting corruption as well as protecting transparency. Government of the day is accountable and responsible to the House, not the bureaucrats of the day. If they are remotely managed by the assembly, this will be the bad day for democracy. That's all I have to say for the time being. Thank you.